I had to do another take of this video because I actually used the article where he actually was not uncensored. And I thought, you know what? I don't know what YouTube's rules are. Am I going to get in trouble for showing what he actually said in relaying a story about police actually being prejudiced? Hello, everyone. I am Mecha 42, your favorite YouTube harpy, and I think that's the why this is so important. This is such an important topic to discuss because we live in a day and age where you can't express something historically. You cannot relay an anecdote. You can't. Everybody's getting on this kick of revisionist history now, where you can't describe a certain war that took place in the 1940s. You can't say who the bad guys were, or else you'll get censored. And if you go around censoring every time something historically bad has happened, people are never going to learn from it, and that's kind of where we're at with this environment now. Hello, everyone. I am Mecha 42, your favorite YouTube harpy. So now. The author of this, or the person who actually quit the Star Trek Discovery Writers Room, he didn't specify. I will link his entire article, or his entire op-ed piece. I can't show it on screen because it's not censored, and I don't know what the rules of YouTube are at this point, but I'm going to make a judgment call and say, look, I don't want my channel being in trouble for showing that a man of African descent said a word that as a white person, I'm not allowed to say, right? But he got in trouble for it, and he got called. So we'll read the article here, and I'll give you some more of my thoughts. I'll probably interrupt this and give you all my thoughts in between, because this is where we're at, people. This is where we're at in this day and age, right? That people can't relay anecdotes in dealing with you can't live in the real world if you have to deal with a workplace environment anymore. You can't, like, it's like they're two separate things, right? You have the sanitized version where you can't offend, and you can't say, and you can't quote, and you can't do anything because somebody is going to get up in arms over it and complain. So here we go. Let's see what the Hollywood Reporter says. Producers, CBS TV Studios responded to the acclaimed writer and author in a statement provided to the Hollywood Reporter. We are committed to supporting a workplace where employees feel free to express concerns where they feel comfortable performing their best work. Here's the thing about Star Trek Discovery, though. There have been many reports behind the scenes at Star Trek Discovery of people getting fired over leaping across the table at people, and this is why these two writers here, Harberts and Gretchen Berg, looks like they were out. Yeah, it ran into budget woes and complaints of staff mistreatment. Well, yeah, they apparently had leapt across the table at somebody. There's also reports of Anson Mount from the Hollywood Reporter and Deadline and all these places where he had reportedly gotten into some altercation. We don't know if it was physical or not. Rumors that I've been hearing say he punched a director for actor Anson Mount on set. Now, Anson Mount, if you guys don't know, he played Captain Pike. This is a toxic work environment. This is a very click-heavy, toxic work environment where only the in people seem to really be, as long as you say the right thing and are offended by all the right stuff, right, and triggered by all the right trigger words, then you'll fit in perfectly on Star Trek Discovery as a writer. But if you are of a certain age and a certain intellect and a certain time period, then they're going to look for anything to get rid of you or to complain to you about because you're not going to fit in their little clique. And that's what I think. I think this is the first legit writer that they've had on the show who probably isn't stupid. He doesn't come across as stupid to me, just looking at how he wrote his op-ed piece. And I really urge you guys to click that link in this article and read it for yourselves because it's not censored. And I think it's really an important lesson that we can kind of learn from and say, look, we can't go around revising everything. We can't go around censoring historical anecdotes. It's one thing if there's a bunch of people in the room calling him that. Then you would never, ever, that's never okay, right? You never want to call somebody that word. But if he's relaying an anecdote about issues that he's had with police, All right, let's see what he has to say. Author Walter Mosley penned an op-ed for the New York Times, published Friday. And my other take, I actually showed it, and I'm like, oh, he says the word. I don't know if I can put that on screen. Because this is YouTube. Like, they don't tell us what we can and can't say. And I'm sure it's the same thing in Star Trek Discovery. You don't know you've offended somebody until you've offended somebody and you're in trouble, right? And it's too late. Because that's the society we live in. That's how things are nowadays. Published on Friday, in which he revealed that he quit his job as a writer on television after he was chastised by human resources for using the N-word on the job. Although Mosley, who is black, did not reveal which show he's departed, sources tell The Hollywood Reporter that was CBS's All Access's Star Trek Discovery. That series, renewed in February, who cares? With its third showrunner, actually, we're more like on our fourth or fifth. So you had Brian Fuller come in, and then after Brian Fuller, you had these two knuckleheads come in and replace him. And then those two were out, then Alex Kurtzman came in, and then Alex Kurtzman did such a wonderful job, he was replaced by Michelle Paradise, who will probably be replaced a couple of episodes into season 3. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear that she's being replaced. I mean, I believe she's well-liked, so she might fit that. I don't see her being smart enough to run Star Trek Discovery. She's very Hollywood. She's very much Hollywood, woke, LGBT, whatever, blah, 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 blah. That's more the agenda. Excuse me. And that's why I say they have this little clique, right? They have this little clique there from what it seems like. And yeah, that's really apparent if you go to Star Trek Las Vegas and see the panels, because you'll have the little clique of Discovery actors who are like, we're the first ones who were diverse. We're the first ones who did this. We're the first ones with the alphabet representation, right? And then you have the actual cast from old shows saying, actually, I was the first bisexual character. I was married to men. Or actually, no, it was never about being a token ethnic thing, as said by Roxanne Dawson, who played B'Elanna Torres, right? You had diversity and representation on these shows. Star Trek was always woke before woke was like a thing, before it was trendy, before woke was a reason to bully other people. And that's what it feels like. It feels like people are so woke that they're just using that as an excuse to gang up and be in this little clique, right? And they're not actually for representation. They're not actually for diversity. They just want to say, oh, you're not part of my clique, therefore you are an ist, therefore you hate everybody of this color. And like, I'm a Star Trek fan, right? First off, I'm a Star Trek fan. So to tell that to somebody like me is just so stupid. It is just dumb. It's like the dumbest people in the world would say that to me. Once you look at Star Trek and you're out there realizing, oh, look at all these planets, and there's actually like a real legit reason to believe that, you know, there's probably aliens running around out there. There's too many planets not to think that, right? I'm a fan of that type of thing. And once you realize the bigger picture out there, something as petty as the color of somebody's skin becomes the least interesting thing about them. At the same time, though, we have to remember what we were like historically as people. And yeah, there were some people who did some crappy things to each other in the name of that, in the name of you look different than me. But guess what? There's also a lot of horrible people that did a lot of horrible things to people because they believed different than them as well, right? And it wasn't about how they looked. It was how they believed. It's like, oh, you don't believe in the same invisible man in the sky I do, therefore I'm going to throw you in a torture chamber, right? And that's how a lot of these things, like, they're forgetting this by revising all this, by they're taking away and they're censoring history almost. And once you're somebody like me, like, my favorite Captain Sisko, and I don't have to justify, you know, that I don't have to say that just for my little woke points, because I don't care. I'm not trying to impress some low IQ, low intellect, little C's get degrees sort of person who's going to be offended over everything, right? I'm not trying to impress that. I'm here talking to people who are smart. And that's why you're here, because you guys are smart. So they're on his third showrunner, which is closer to the fifth showrunner. Thanks for getting that right, Hollywood Reporter. Have experienced serious issues of abusive language with its writers' room in the past. Yes. Oh, yeah, it has. I've also heard rumors. Now, this is just rumor. I can't really prove this one. I've heard rumors that Akiva Goldsman has gone around making mocking statements towards the homosexual characters on the show, using the derogatory F word against those characters. And basically mocking them in very effeminate voices. Now, that's just what I've heard. I can't prove that, but that's just one of the things that kind of goes alongside with all of these things. And now I don't know how much involvement Akiva Goldsman still has, but you know, when you get a producer credit on something, then you're there for life, or I don't know. Sources tell a Hollywood Reporter that season 3 showrunners Alex Kurtzman, who sources say personally recruited Mosley to the Discovery Room, and Michelle Paradise were informed of the complaint via Human Resources but were not present for the incident, in which Mosley allegedly uses the N-word multiple times. See, this is fascinating to me. Now, from what I know about Alex Kurtzman and Michelle Paradise, that they're both very much part of this clique of, you know, you guys are all horrible people. You need us to show you the way because we're the good ones and you're not. You know, and that's all this is, right? So did Alex Kurtzman do something very, I don't know, I would almost consider it racist, just to hire somebody because of the color of their skin? Or did he hire this gentleman because he wanted somebody who is smart and going to make Star Trek good? Because that's the one thing that seems like they've been trying to do, is make Star Trek good. They seem to be trying to get some of these writers in, but they just don't know what they're doing. I don't think the people who run Discovery are smart enough to understand any of that. So Michelle Paradise were informed of the complaint via Human Resources, but were not present. Sources note that HR called Mosley to inform the acclaimed writer and novelist that typical use of that word was a fireable offense, but there was no course of action. There was to be no course of action taken against him. HR informed Mosley that a writer in the room was uncomfortable with it and effectively wanted to ensure that he was aware of the studio's policy. Earlier this year, I had just finished with the Snowfall's writer room for this season when I took a similar job on a different show at a different network. I'd been in the new room for weeks when I got the call from Human Resources. A pleasant-sounding young man said, "Mr. Mosley, it's been reported that you use the N-word in the writer's room." Mosley wrote in the Times. I replied, "I am the N-word in the writer's room." Mosley went on to explain that the individual in HR said that while he was free to use that word in a script, he could not say it. Mosley then clarified, I hadn't called anyone it. Why can't I say it? I hadn't called anyone it. I just told a story about a cop who explained to me on the streets of Los Angeles they stopped all that word in Patty neighborhood. Patty, now why didn't they censor this? This almost seems like it's derogatory against Asian people. Right? Why didn't they censor that one? And it looks like a derogatory term that they left uncensored. Thank you very much. So what are the rules here on the Hollywood Reporter, too? In the N-word neighborhoods, because they're usually up to no good. I was telling a true story as I remembered it. So he's just quoting what the cop said. So the cop is using all this type of language. Sometimes you have to quote people when you're telling a story, and sometimes it ruins the story if you have to, censor yourself. Obviously, I'm not going to... If it were me, I would probably censor it. For Mr. Mosley, I wouldn't see a problem with that. You're relaying an anecdote. You know, you're relaying not only an anecdote, but you're telling how the police are not actually... At least this particular officer wasn't particularly woke, I suppose. Something to take some lessons from, right? Mosley wrote that he is unaware who complained of his use of the word. There was a black man in America who shares with millions of others a history of the R word with ism at the end, and more often than not, treated as subhuman, he continued. If addressed at all, that history had to be rendered in words by my employers, regarded as acceptable. So here we are. This is where we're at. We have to censor historical events. We have to censor relaying actual details. And once you start here, right? And I get it. You don't want to go around throwing around the N-word in any situation, right? But this is the same thing. If you watch Dave Chappelle's comedy special, which I highly recommend, he had similar experiences with the network. Right. Like, he couldn't say the F word against gay people, homosexual people, because they're like, oh, you can't say that because you're not one, but you can say the N word. He's like, well, yes, but I'm not a, and then that, right? Because still, I think everybody will agree that that word has a negative notation to it, right? So maybe this is just like a continuation of that policy. But at the same time, if you can't relay an anecdote, right? It's not like he's going around referring to other members of the writer's room as, my N-word, or hey, and that's kind of how I understand the word is sort of thrown around, like hey dude, hey buddy, hey bro. That's kind of my understanding of it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like I said, white girl, don't use it. But we can't just go around with this mixed message of okay, so you can say it in a script, but you can't relay an anecdote and say it out loud now. It's where are we headed with this? Where are we headed with this? And I like how Dave Chappelle handled it, where he's like, well, yeah, so I can say it, but I'm not one. You're kind of implying that I am yeah. He relayed that better. Go watch his special. But so this is one of those things. It's such a hard topic, but it's something we have to kind of keep aware of when we go forward dealing with this stuff. CBS TV Studios responded to Mosley's op-ed on Friday in a statement provided to The Hollywood Reporter. We have the greatest admiration for Mr. Mosley's writing and talents, and we are excited to have him join Star Trek Discovery. Okay, so CBS did confirm his Star Trek Discovery. See, now he was being professional, and he didn't mention who it was. He just said another network and another show. So he was even being really, really professional there. And they had to go and be like, no, we didn't know, let's see. And they're using this for publicity now for their show to show how woke they are. Because people are going to see, I'm sorry, people are going to see this photo and look at him in passing and assume he's white. Right? And they're not going to read 2 seconds into this. They're like, oh, you got rid of an ist writer. That's what the angle they're going to be using this as. Because even at first glance last night, we're like, oh, is he African American? Is he black? Because he's lighter skin. So you're gonna just, a lot of people are just going to glance, right? A lot of people are just going to say, hey, they fired somebody who used that word, and now they're going to use that to promote their show. And that's what's more disgusting, is that they're going to try even harder to get that little woke crowd when they don't understand the actual complexity of the story. And I'm sorry, this is going to be a longer video, but yes, while we cannot comment on the specifics of confidential employee matters, we are committed to supporting a workplace where employees feel free to express concerns and where they're comfortable performing their best work. We wish Mr. Mosley much continued success. While Mosley did not say he was immediately threatened with termination, he ultimately decided to leave the show. My answer to HR was to resign and move on. I was in a writer's room trying to be creative while at the same time being surveyed by unknown critics who would snitch on me to a disembodied voice over the phone, he wrote. My every word would be scrutinized. Sooner or later, I'd be fired or worse, silenced. So this guy is smarter than them. This guy, and that's this further, I didn't read this far into it. Furthermore, this kind of goes into what I said. It's the little clique. It's their little clique of these little, I'm offended, little chat. This is the same crap I used to deal with at work, too, at Macy's. I worked retail for a lot of years, and they would bitch and moan and complain about every little thing, and the second I chimed in with them, oh, you're so negative. Excuse me, you guys spent an hour complaining about this very same thing, but I'm the one who gets called into HR because I agreed with you. Because I wasn't part of the clique. And people don't like smart people who are not part of their cliques. And I think that might be part of this. Sources say Mosley, who had been on staff for 3 weeks, suddenly stopped coming into the Santa Monica-based secret hideout offices that serve as the writer's room for Discovery, Picard, and multiple other Star Trek shows. Paradise and Kurtzman, who previously dismissed 2 Discovery showrunners after claims of abusive language and behavior, later learned that Mosley had quit the series without so much as a call to explain what happened. It's worth noting that Discovery has particularly inclusive writers room that includes the 3. No. It doesn't have. It's not worth noting that. It's worth noting that Discovery is just as tokenistic and into their little game of Wokemon as they are in the show. We want one of this and one of that. Did you just hire him because of the color of his skin and you didn't bother to know, oh, he's smarter than this crap? That is exactly what I think is happening now. It's an inclusive writer's room to 3 African American scribes, 2 Asian American, Native American, and a Latinx woman, among others. Yeah, so you got one color of every, you got one of every one of the rainbow. Congratulations, you filled your Wokedex, right? Where's actually no, you're missing some alphabet people in there, and then you'll be a little more inclusive, right? Where's your Inuit representation? Oh, these people. Mosley ended his op-ed by saying the worst thing, I guess with Native American, the worst thing you can do is criticize citizens of a democratic nation. The worst thing you can do to criticize, wow, I can talk today. The worst thing you can do to citizens of a democratic nation is to silence them, he elaborated. And the easiest way to silence a woman or a man is to threaten his or her livelihood. Let's not accept the McCarthyism of secret condemnation. Instead, let's delve a little deeper, limiting power that can be exerted over our citizens, their attempts to express their hearts and horrors, and their desire to speak their truths. Only this can open the dialogue of change. Yes, how do we know what actual horrible things people do to each other if we don't understand what happened? You can't just say, oh, no, nothing happened in Germany in the 1940s. Nope, nothing, because you're too censored to say it, right? You're too censored to say it, and you're too afraid to say it. You're too afraid that you're going to be deplatformed for saying history or what happened. Oh, yeah, again, now I'm doubling down on this. Yes, 100%. He was fired because he's too damn smart, and he got hired because Alex Kurtzman only wants his little Wokedex checkbox of we only hire diverse because we're woke. Because we're so woke, we don't actually understand anything else, and that's their little clique. It's like politics or sports. They only want people on their team, and if you say something different, there is no diversity of thought. There's no other opinion. There's no other point of view. Yes, and then it goes on to say that the other people were fired ahead of season 2. They replaced the original showrunner, Brian Fuller. Yeah, so they say 3. No, we're on our 5th showrunner now. We're on our 5th showrunner on Discovery. And, that just confirms that after, 3 weeks on the writing staff, probably the only person with half a brain wouldn't put up with their crap. Star Trek, you're losing actual talented, intelligent people because of your crap. Do you understand me? Real writers don't want to work for you because of this bullshit. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Sorry it's so long. If you haven't, like, subscribe, all the things, share. I am Mecha Random 42, and I'll see you guys later. Bye! Thanks for watching. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye!